So this is a Baptist kitchen. They have the big 53-foot trailer that they bring in and set up this tent. Within 4 hours, they can have that tent up and going and thousands of meals on the ground. They can either do this in a kitchen size, a trailer size, or the church next door. I believe it's the one in North Carolina. And they have a commercial kitchen on the inside as well. So the Baptists are one of our favorite partners that we partner with. We do have other partner agencies that have kitchens as well, but they're the ones we spend most of the time with, and so that's why we're kind of focusing on them. So here's another feature. You can see all the tents they've got. And the lovely thing about having the Baptists with us, and that's why we enjoy working with them, they have a laundry trailer there. You drop your laundry off in the morning, you come back and pick it up at night, and it's all washed and dried and folded for you. The other little things with the steps off to the sides are showers. So they bring in shower trailers, they bring in the laundry trailers. They have chainsaw teams that do mucking out, and they have also daycare teams that come in and support the clients that are in the shelter, give the parents a break to play games with the kids and entertain them. So we really enjoy partnering with them. They started out only doing feeding, and they've expanded drastically to try and fit the needs that the disasters have happened. So here you can see as they're setting this out, they're clamshelling food and handing out cases of water. On the right, on the left is a guy carrying a Cambro. I hope that's an empty one, because you should only carry those one person when they're empty. When they've got food in them, you need to have two because they are heavy and you want to protect your back. So here's what it looks like to have a Red Cross team in the kitchen. Everything says just the food people. This is all your herb drivers and your leaders in the kitchen. So there's a lot that goes on in a kitchen that people don't realize what all happens and transpires there. You have your own little mini headquarters at this kitchen site, and you work right alongside them all day long, whether you're in an herb and delivering meals, or whether you're going to be one of the ones staying behind to be a supervisor to support the feeding team. So there's multiple kitchen roles in a kitchen. You have your manager who's in charge of the kitchen and coordinates with the cooking team. You have a feeding supervisor who works with the feeding lead in HQ when catering is used. You have an herb coordinator, which makes sure that all the teams are matched up, that they've scheduled their days off, and help to make sure that all the teams are working together well. You have a routes and reporting coordinator. That person will create maps and work with DA and determine where the best places are to do mobile feeding and out and about. So they'll print you out maps on where to go, and then you turn your numbers into them, and they turn the numbers into the kitchen manager, who again turns them into HQ. We used to have what we call a yard dog, which is politically incorrect. So now they're called load masters, and that's the person that does all the run around heavy lifting, rain, shine, snow, sleet, whatever, making sure that all the herbs have what they need, that the meals are set out in those pallets as you saw in the beginning, and they help you load your vehicle and get you on the road. And of course, you have the herb drivers that need to be certified and trained to drive, feeding essays that can do a ride along with them or support in the kitchen. We always need a feeding and admin and somebody to help do inventory control, because it's a lot of moving parts when you're running the kitchen, because we have to maintain all the activities that are going on in that kitchen. And then event-based volunteer coordinator. And this is really probably one of the best and easiest ways to get event-based volunteers is in feeding and in DES, because it's a very physical, active role, and they seem to enjoy that a lot. Do you have any questions right now so far on what I've talked about? I know in the past we always turn off the.
So, Julia, I have a question. If I'm a
Sure.
feeding SA and I
Mhm.
deploy and I'm deploying to a disaster that has a kitchen, what am I apt to do on my first deployment at the kitchen?
So your first deployment on the kitchen, you would do a ride along, since you'd never done it before. They would put you as a third. A lot of the herbs have um, a bucket seat in the back that you can ride in. And sometimes, depending on the amount of meals you're serving, you do need a third person because you can't keep up otherwise. And so that person would go on a third. And that's a good thing to go as your first deployment with a team that's already active and knows the job so that you can learn as you go. And it's a great experience. Two of the funnest jobs in the Red Cross are managing the kitchen and driving an herb and serving out of the herb because they always look so forward to seeing you coming. Did that answer
So,
your question, Mary?
yes. So what if I'm an SA, but I don't have any experience? You know, I have experience in the Pacific Division, but not back east where we do kitchens. But I'm an SV and I get deployed. What am I likely to do as a job?
So all these jobs, other than the kitchen manager that I listed there, are an SV position. So I always do a job induction, and you should as the kitchen manager. This is the role hopefully a lot of you are looking to do. So you want to do a job induction with them and talk to your team one-on-one and find out what their background is. And when you find out one person, was a administrator somewhere and said, hey, would you like to be the admin and help keeping all this coordinated? And there are job descriptions that I wrote because in our Red Cross training, it's only a one line. And so I kind of read them what I think they should be doing and ask, do you feel comfortable doing this role or not? So I give them the option on if they want to just ride in the herb or if they want to take one of these supervisory roles.
And last question, um, if I um, is there additional training like for the specific positions like the route and reports coordinator? Is there specific training on Edge, or is that something that I just learn on the job?
It's something you're going to learn on the job. Sadly, they've been promising us new training for feeding for quite some time. And so we're kind of delayed right now with all this typing and everything else that's going on. So that's kind of behind. That's why I wrote out my own job descriptions to help people understand what that is. But working in this kitchen situation, you're a very close knit team. You bond really well together and just go alongside somebody else that's worked in the kitchen before and they'll walk you through it and help you. So there's always good team support.
Thank you.
So here's some of the mobile feeding kitchens and partners. The Baptist, of course, I had already said is one of them. The Amish Kitchen and Loaves and Fishes, they are a great group too. They have a big like RV that they cook out of and set up a tent system. Christian Aid Ministries coordinates feeding. World Central Kitchen does kitchens as well. We wouldn't be extensively engaged in their kitchen as much as we would in the Baptist. Same with the Mercy Chefs. And Salvation Army does have kitchens sometimes, or the RV situation. And a lot of times, those last three, we don't engage as closely with them and need a partner team as much because what they do is they provide all the wraparound services and then they charge us per meal and then we pick up the meals and deliver them. With the other agencies, we provide the wraparound services and there's no charge for the meals because we paid for all the other stuff that makes the kitchen run properly. And that's
Excellent.
if you're going to be
And
the kitchen manager, you want to track every bit of that.
and Kay has joined us. Kay, you got your computer
Okay.
working.
Oh, the joys of living in Alaska. My system shut down.
No worries. I'm going to let you
So
two take it over.
Sure. Kay, we just went over the types of kitchens that we work in. If you want to take the next slide, which is the Baptist Relief, and explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, the
Or do you need
Baptist. Okay, the Baptist, is that the one you're on? Number 9?
Yes.
Page 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's really nice about the Baptist is they actually have a Connex that's set up like a kitchen. So it has ovens and it has sinks and it has stoves in it. So they actually do the cooking in there, or they set up under a tent. So the kitchen can be set up either at a church, usually a Baptist church if it's the Baptist, or a store parking lot. I've seen it done in closed down Fred Meyer's or Kmart's, things like that. Kitchen can be set up outside, and it can produce thousands of meals once it's up and running. The food is ordered by us, so they tell us what they need, and we order it from Cisco or US Food, and then Red Cross picks up and delivers the meals. The Baptists also put it in the Cambros, and then they label it of how many servings are in each Cambro. So it's really nice. They pretty much do everything for us. So next.
Well, let me just tell you, see how she's stirring that food? That's called a dump skillet. So that actually, she's stirring that with a paddle like you would in a canoe, because there is so much food in that dump skillet. And they can actually tilt that and dump it, and dumps it right into our Cambros. Okay, next slide.
Before you go on, there's a question, and I
Sure.
think you alluded to it right now. Are you expecting your IRV drivers to also be feeders as well?
Yeah, I'm not
What do you mean?
sure what we're asking. Yeah, what somebody's asking. But actually, what happens is those Cambros that the Baptists fill up, they put on the herbs, and then the herb has a route and it goes out, and they serve from the Cambros into clamshells and then give them to the people.
Thank you. I think that answers the question.
And like I
So-
said, it's one of the funnest jobs on the Red Cross, because they look forward to seeing you. And you always want to talk to the clients and find out if there's any folks that maybe have disabilities or seniors that may be hard for them to get out of their house and walk up to the corner where we're parked at when we're doing mobile feeding. So we always try to put them in clamshells, put them in a bag, and take them to their front door. And that's why it's always good to have a third person along to help you serve. Okay, Kay.
Yeah, so Julia, do you want to take this one or you want me to?
I will.
Okay.
So the kitchen manager, like I said, it's one of the funnest jobs in the Red Cross. So you maintain and order the kitchen, the order of the kitchen. You turn all your reports into their feeding lead at HQ, and it's now called Feeding Activity Coordinator. You work with the Baptist Blue Hat, and the one nice thing about the Baptist is they're a bunch of worker bees, extremely organized. Everybody's in yellow with yellow hats and yellow shirts, but the guy with the blue hat is the one in charge, so you know right who to go to when you need to find out who the leader is.
Do you want to
You
talk
meet
about the
daily.
white hat?
Oh, you can talk about that as soon as I finish the kitchen manager one.
Okay.
So you're going to meet with your team daily. So the supervisors that we listed earlier, a possibility of them, and you facilitate daily driver meetings if there's any questions or concerns. Information you bring back. We are the hub of information. So you're the ones that are out there in the field, driving around, finding out information, and bring it all back to your kitchen manager so they can report it to HQ. So um, names, phone numbers, addresses, situations that you've seen or noticed, things that people bring to you. If you have clients on your route that need mental health or health services, they will follow along behind you. So we are the information gatherers as we're out and about in the field. And the kitchen manager has to be comfortable with conflict resolution. Not all drivers get along real well, or they may not always like the route they have, or the weather can get to them, whatever the situation. You can't let that sweep under the rug. You have to confront it, and it's compassionate corrections when you are supporting people that are having some struggles. And then the other thing is you're always mentoring and leading and coaching people, because like Mary said, it may be your first time and you're still trying to understand what that role is and how to be successful in that role. Okay, Kay, you want to explain what a white hat is?
Yeah, the Baptists have a white hat too. And the one thing you don't do is talk to the white hat. The white hat is the top of the chain, and the only person who talks to the white hat is the blue hat. So we don't have any contact with the white hat other than if they say hello, we say hello and we're nice. But you don't want to ask the White House any questions. Go to the Blue Hat for anything you might need.
So Kay and
Yes, because
Julia,
the White Hat is over all the activities they have, the showers, the laundry, the chainsaw team. So they oversee the whole thing and they work very closely with our HQ upper management team. Okay,
Right.
Mary, what?
so Kay and Julia, Bob has a question or he has a concern. He said he's been told that by National, I don't know who at National, has said that SV drivers are no longer need a feeding gap.
No, you do need a
No.
feeding gap. You don't have to take the driving test anymore. That's what they've done away with. Now they're thinking about getting away with the feeding gap, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Not if Julie and I have something to say about it.
Exactly. The biggest thing is food safety. You have to make sure you have that class. But there have been some concerns that people think you have to be a supervisor to drive an ERV. That's not the case. You can be an SA, but have all your ERV training as far as, you know, the idea of how to drive the vehicle and the training as far as how to inspect it and all that other kind of stuff. So you don't have to be a supervisor to drive an ERV. Okay, let's go to the next position, your ERV coordinator.
Oh, I
That's
get this
another
one.
job.
Yeah, I get
Go for
this
it.
one. This is my favorite job. The other one was Julia's favorite. This is my favorite. The ERV coordinator is a supervisor. They schedule the driver's days off and replacements. They also do drive-alongs. Don't know if Julia talked about it. Sorry if I'm repeating. But
No.
one of the best things we can do is have the Baptists ride along with us when people have days off, because they love to get out and see the clients. Otherwise, they're just stuck in the kitchen and they only get to cook and put food in containers and that's it. But if they get to go out and ride around, it is the most special thing to them. So the ERV coordinator goes ahead and matches up those teams to ride-alongs. They work with the route coordinator to assign routes, and they work with the kitchen manager and leadership staff. They also are in charge of the ERVs in terms of, is there any maintenance that needs to be done? Or are there issues? Are there ERVs out of commission? Then they need to call in and get those taken care of. So the ERV coordinator is also kind of called mom sometimes to the ERV drivers. And it's a really important position. Like Julia said, some of the ERV drivers can be they're cowboys. And that's a nice term. But they want to drive their ERV and that's about all they want to do. And so there can be conflicts. And like she said, the best thing you can do is get on top of them. If you see people who are not getting along, talk to the ERV coordinator, because they can pull somebody off of an ERV and put them on another one. It's totally mix and match. So it'll work, but if it doesn't, it just tends to blow up.
Okay, in order for the Southern Baptist to do a ride along, do they need to sign any release forms?
No.
No.
Did I answer your question, Erin? I hope. I think it does.
Yeah, no,
Yes, it does.
they're our partners. And so they can actually come along. It's something we try to do as often as we can. But they have to have permission from the Blue Hat.
Yes.
That's important. Next.
Okay, let's go to the next slide unless we have other questions. So your routes and reporting coordinator. So when you're doing your intake and job induction and you're talking to the people, this is someone that has to be extremely organized and able to work with other gaps, because they're going to be working with DA and external relations to see what all is out there and where we need to be to do our mobile feeding routes. And so this position is going to be a supervisor. If you're not and you're an SA, but you feel you can do the job, I will easily field promote you to a supervisor for that particular job. So you work with DA damage assessment, determine the routes you need to go on. You print out maps or routes. Now, we did hear that they are working on getting us um, the ArcGIS to work for feeding to where we can have that available to us. And I'm hoping that's going to happen real soon. But you collect all the data from the drivers and find out this area is more convenience feeding, or this area we need a lot more feeding because we ran out of food halfway and had to call another herb to come to our rescue. So you have to maintain an Excel spreadsheet and report all your numbers daily to your kitchen manager so they can report it to HQ because they need to turn those numbers in daily. And it used to be we did uh, the day before's dinner and then breakfast and lunch, and now it's same day. So sometimes they'll be calling you and saying, okay, where's my numbers? I need dinner. Well, they're still out serving. At that point, basically what you need is a guesstimate of, okay, you've been going here every day and you did, 45 meals there or 250 meals there. How many do you think you're going to do today? So they have a deadline that they have to turn that in so that the people that put all this together don't have to be up till midnight trying to sorting out all these numbers to put them in the spreadsheet. And you'll work with the leadership team as well. And you'll also be, each of these roles as a supervisor, you'll be assigned by the kitchen manager, a team of people that are SAs that you'll be writing evals for. So if you get
So
assigned someone that you, what's that?
who went? Eric?
Someone has their, or it's not on mute.
Someone,
Is this one they responded
Yeah.
to, or
Erin's not on mute. I'll try and mute her.
I'm sorry, it got muted.
thank you. So all these roles, what I have to do, because it's not the kitchen manager's job to write 40 evals. Each supervisor will have essays that'll be working along with them. And if you have an essay that you don't work with as much, but you see that John over there is, you need to get information from them and say, what kind of worker is there? Can you help me work with doing their eval? Everybody deserves an eval. So consider that when you're doing that. I give a list of all the workers so everybody knows who they're writing eval from the very start. Okay, next slide is the Loadmaster. Kay, do you want to take that one?
Sure, the yard dog. And that's fun. This position is also a supervisor. They work with the Baptist Kitchen. The Baptist Kitchen has what's called a load coordinator. So that's somebody who takes the cameras, fills them to the right number, and then goes ahead and gets them out on the pallet. So between the yard dog and the Baptist Kitchen load coordinator, they make sure the right food goes on the right herb. They set up the pallets. They make sure all the herbs has all its supplies, not just food, but all its supplies. The yard dog makes sure you have enough clamshells and you have enough snacks. You have enough everything else that you need to go out. The Loadmaster may be involved with the inventory of the support trailers and work with kitchen leadership. It's a really physical job. Anyone who works in the yard, it's tough. You have to be out there in all sorts of weather. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it's a really important job. If that gets messed up, the whole system goes out the window. So it's a really important job. Next.
So Kay or
If you can
Julia,
notice,
there's a question. So the herb drivers could be either delivering on a route or they could be delivering to a shelter. Is that correct?
Yeah, they can
That
be
is
on a route. They can deliver to a shelter. They can deliver, or they can do fixed feeding. They may go to a church somewhere and just sit there and serve meals. So it all depends on the situation, but there's a lot of different kinds of feeding.
And do they serve the meals at the shelter or just drop it off?
No, usually they just drop it off and the shelter folks go ahead and dish it up and serve it.
it depends on the operation. Sometimes they may have a need, and the shelter supervisor will say, we need your help. We don't have enough staff to support the amount of people here. Can you stay and serve? And
Yeah.
so, that request does happen. I just wanted to point out, see all those little white tags at the bottom of all these pallets in that picture? What you're going to want to do as your route person is to put the team that has to drive the furthest away gets in line first, and they're the first one that picks up. You do not touch anything on that pallet until that yard dog says, yes, it's all filled and ready to go, or you're going to end up with missing out on one of your cameras that you need, and your meals aren't going to be complete. So that's how it's all set up, and those are all the numbers of the herbs, and they know how what order to get into to pull up and get their cameras.
And Julia, could you give an example of what you should do if you're on a route and let's say you're serving chicken and vegetables and mac and cheese and a roll, and you run out of chicken and mac and cheese. Give an example of what you would do to resolve that issue.
You all have radios in your herbs, and hopefully you can call another herb that may be close by. Sometimes you're just going to run out of food, period. And you're going to say, wow, I got swamped. Is anybody else near me? I'm on the corner of at 10th in New York. Can you come over and help support? Usually if you're going to run out, it's because you didn't use the correct spoodle size. The spoodles are your serving utensils, and they're 2 ounce, 4 ounce, 6 ounce. And make sure when you look at that label that the Baptists give you, that is 250 4-ounce spoodles. If you use the 6 ounce, you're going to run out of food. Does that help answer?
Thank you.
Sometimes there's not much you can do about it. Said, sorry, this is all I've got, and they'll take that. Or you can see if there's more back in the kitchen. You can go back and get it depending how far away from the kitchen you are.
But what you're saying is explain to the clients that you ran out, you're sorry. Even if you can't get more food today, you'll come back with additional food tomorrow. Is that what I heard?
Yes, and I always try to, if we have them available, I always try to have the stock shelf-stable meals that they can hand out if they need to.
Excellent. Thank you.
So the kitchen admin person is a highly valuable person, and they're chained to a desk basically. So if you love paperwork and parking in front of a computer when you're doing feeding, we need you. So this position supports the kitchen manager and the whole rest of the staff. So you'll be fielding a lot of those questions that come in while the manager's talking to HQ or whatever the case may be. The best thing to do as a kitchen admin is work as the admin to learn how to be a kitchen manager, because you're doing that job side by side with the kitchen manager, seeing how it functions, seeing what the needs are, seeing the questions that are asked. So then you are in the know what's going on and how it's being addressed, and you learn immensely by doing that. But as you can see, all these documents, you need to know Excel really well, how to fill out the 215s, the 6409s, 6455, WebEOC mission tracker, that you have to stay on top of that mission tracker. The FDR is the feeding and DS report. That's when the routes coordinators tells you the numbers that you turned in, and they will help turn those into on the WebEOC. So a lot of reporting going on, a lot of tracking. The biggest thing you can learn on any DR, communication and documentation, will either make you successful or fail, because you have to communicate and you have to document everything.
You know,
And
one
this
of the,
admin,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
the admin person also is a lot of times will be supporting the event-based volunteers and encouraging them and signing up for what they need to do. Okay, Kay.
Yeah, I will say that the kitchen admin is a really important job. I know that in Harvey we had an admin who really anticipated what we needed a lot of times. We were so busy that we didn't have time to think. But all of a sudden she'd walk in and she said, I think you need this. And it was like something that made my life much easier. So an admin is a really special job in a kitchen. Next.
Yes. Okay. So we have our disaster event-based volunteers. They had to add the D. And so this is when we're out recruiting volunteers, or people come up to the Red Cross headquarters and said, how can I help? I live here and I want to support my community. So two of the easiest, fastest way to get event-based volunteers engaged is feeding and in DES, because it's still working with the clients a little bit, but it's not with confidential information, so that they can jump in and learn and go. And we've always got jobs that they can do. Um, they love to help clean Cambros. I think there's a picture further on that you're going to see that they were washing Cambros, and they were worried about getting all wet, so they put garbage bags over their whole body to protect them from. But they loved being able to be a part of that. They didn't want to run on herbs. They wanted to support right there in the kitchen. So, and a lot of times, as you are kind to these, I'd rather have event-based volunteer work and do a job, and a Red Cross volunteer step back, because it's their community, their people, and you want them to have that experience. Don't take away a job from them. Guide them, be kind to them, encourage them, mentor them, because they may be your next volunteer that you're working with once you've given them. And if they have, once you've given that experience, they're going to say, hey, I love Red Cross. I want to do this. I have the mission and the compassion to serve others. And if they ask for one, you can give them an eval, because they have done a great job. A lot of times it's only a 4-hour shift. Some will do a 4-hour shift every day and show up every day. So just engage them the best you can. Any questions about event-based volunteers? Have any of you started out as event-based volunteers and became a Red Cross volunteer? No hands up. Okay, next slide. Herb drivers and feeding essays. Kay, you want to go for that?
Sure. Herb drivers. Herb drivers are wonderful. I still say that after 20 years, I wish I could go back and drive an herb. It requires a driver safety classes and the basic food handlers. You need to be a feeding SA for the time being. You're a utility player. You're not just that driver. You support everything about the kitchen. You actually make sure that that herb is in great condition, and if it's not, that it's reported so that it can be taken care of. You make sure that the people who are riding with you are taken care of, and you make sure that the clients are being taken care of. And if you see needs out there, that you're noting it and that you're reporting it back. But herb driving is really a wonderful job. Next.
I wanted to add one more thing to that. Now I
Sure.
forgot what it was.
Um,
Let's see.
Julia and Kay, this is Mary. I have a question. So I heard earlier
Sure.
that your routes may change from day to day. Can I expect to be in the same vehicle every day?
No, not at
Wait,
all.
let's back up on that just a little bit, because when we are working with our clients, we want that consistency and that trust built. And the best way to do that is keep the same herb team in the same vehicle every day, same route. Now, maybe some things will have to change,
Right.
but that depends. Sometimes you have a distance that they have to drive, and it's so far that they can't make the turnaround. So one team will do lunch and the other team will do dinner. But you want that consistency to build that faith and that trust from the clients, that they look forward to seeing you. And when you built that trust, they start opening up and sharing. As my
Yeah.
grandmother told me when I was young, you have 2 ears for a reason, only one mouth. I'm still trying to learn to listen more than I talk. But
Yeah.
as an herb driver, that's the important part, is listening between the lines as you're chatting with your clients and handing them food. You'll find out the needs they have and some other information that you can always bring back and help. Like I said, we always encourage mental health and health services to follow along behind you if you have teams or situations where it looks that like that need is important.
Right. I would say that the team is definitely more important than the vehicle. There's times when there's some a breakdown and you can't take out the same herb, or, a larger herb is needed in a certain place. So just be flexible, but the team should, as Julia said, always stay the same.
One of the things I do want to say, when you've got more than 10 ERVs on a job, then we're required to have National Fleet Operation, and you'll hear NFO. It's a old classic ERV. It's called a MIT, and that is their repair vehicle. They need to check every vehicle every 3 days. So be prepared to have them pull you or get out of line before you start lining up to get your meals, to make sure you're checked and everything's running safe, because they want to make sure you have enough depth, that your tires are safe, your brakes are good, and everything's functioning properly. And a lot of times, your air conditioning, if it doesn't work, you want to know that. We found one ERV in Florida, brand new vehicle. It was a solar powered vehicle. And I said, "Are you parking under a tree?" Because the air conditioning wasn't working. We found out after we called the manufacturer that you have to plug it in and let it charge um, for quite a while before you even start driving it, because it has to charge to be able to accept the charge. So sometimes you learn some things on the side like that that you weren't anticipating. Okay, next slide. Oh, questions. That's it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of situations that happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, there being in those situations and being in the ERV. I was in New York during Hurricane Sandy, and a couple of folks wanted to take Thanksgiving Day off. So I said I would ride on the ERV. When you've got people crying and hugging you, saying everybody else has abandoned us, but you are still showing up here on Thanksgiving Day to feed us, and we highly appreciate that. So, and we will feed linemen that are restoring lines, a mailman that figures out fighting the elements to deliver mail. Whoever's out there and available, we feed them all.
One of the really nice things about a kitchen too is if you want exposure to another job, just let somebody know. Say, hey, I might like to try yard dog, or, one of the people who works in the yard. There's opportunities to kind of get experience if you put it out there and you're willing to wait for your turn. It may not happen, but at least put it out there that that's something that you'd like to do.
Yeah, I had a gentleman from my region that came to Nebraska, and I said, he doesn't do computers, and he said, "I do yellow paper and a pen, and so don't make me do spreadsheets and all that stuff." I said, "Are you willing to be the yard dog?" And he said, "Oh, sure, I'll try it." He absolutely loved it. And I tell you, we had 80-degree weather, we had snow, we had sun, we had every kind of weather on that particular DR. And he said, "I love that job. Anytime you're opening the kitchen, you need a yard dog, I want to be there." So it can be a fun job. It is a very physical job, but I enjoy working in the kitchen. So I think you would too if you had the opportunity.
Mike Cianci, I'm not sure how to say your last name. You had a question earlier. Did it get answered?
At one point back, Julia mentioned something she thought was coming, but not yet, and I didn't understand what that was.
Sure. Julia, do you want to talk about the job description / whatever training they're going to do for the individual jobs in the kitchen?
Actually, that's not what that was about. So
Oh.
what it is we just went to a national training back a couple months ago in Florida, and we fill out what's called the 215, which is the information you receive when you get an IAP. Well, now what they're doing with feeding is we don't just fill out how many supervisors, how many managers, how many SAs, how many cameras, how many ERVs, how many this, how many that. That's what you typically fill out on a 215. Feeding is going to have 6 different pages that we need to fill out. So how many sites we're going to go to, how many communities we're going to go to, all those kind of information that is supposed to be able to generate maps for us through that system. They're still working out the bugs in that, and they haven't rolled that out yet. They're trying to make sure that it all functions properly before they roll it out. But it looks like extra work, which it is, but it's beneficial to us and to national to know and understand where we're at, what we're doing. Because as a feeding person, quite often we get the phone calls from the mayors or the churches or the county commissioner saying, you're not taking care of my people. What about this and what about that? And I can show by county and by what we've done and on our maps where we've been and how we've supported that community.
And Julia, will
Thank
that
you.
automatically do the routes for you?
It'll give us neighborhood, excuse me. It'll give us neighborhoods to go into, and then I just need the team to we'll print out a map, and I just need them to highlight on the map where they start, where they end, so we know if we need to progress past that. They try to bring us in, like for example, in LA, we started furthest out and then moved closer and closer to the devastation as people were returning. So it was staged further and further in as we mapped it in, and we had a phenomenal information planning person. They now embed an information and planning person into mass care. And so we had a specific one working with us to map out everything. So we knew exactly where to go and how to do it. He broke it down to quadrants for us. So we knew exactly every day where we're going to go and what we were going to do.
Thank you. So Richard has a question. Is there a Loadmaster SA position? It sounds fun.
It can be an SA person. Anytime you work these roles, you're working long and hard, and you're automatically field promoted to an SV. Half the time, the people that show up are an SA, but I'm telling them I'm going to demand a lot out of you. So I want to make sure that you understand you're going to be evaluated as a supervisor and you're part of this leadership team. So yes, we call them yard puppies when you're learning.
Your dogs, yeah, I mean, there is the yard dog, and that is usually a supervisor position, but there's lots of people who work in the yard who help that yard dog get it taken care of. So you can always offer to go help and get experience in there.
And that sounds like that would be a good place to for the Loadmaster supervisor to use EBVs so they could check it out.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. David, I'm not sure I understand your question. Are there a shortage areas or jobs that need help?
All of them. We need feeding people.
Yes.
And whether it's feeding in a shelter, whether it's feeding on the West Coast, whether it's a hurricane down south, we need feeding folks. So it's really a lot about what's your passion. Is it for driving a nerve? What sounds really good? I think that's it. But I think we're short on feeding people across the board.
So I'll tell you what happened. About 3 years ago, Brad announced that Red Cross wasn't feeding anymore. And so people quit taking the feeding classes or considering going to feeding. What he meant is we aren't cooking anymore. We used to have big RVs called Henry's Kitchen, and there were only 2 or 3 in the whole country, and they just couldn't cover the whole United States trying to, we're fighting over who got to have these kitchens. They were phenomenal kitchens, but we found that we're better picking up the meal and delivering the meals and letting somebody else cook. That's one less thing that we don't want to have to deal with. So we don't cook anymore. I used to love cooking when we had commercial kitchens in the shelter sites that we were at, and then I could actually cook. And so we don't cook anymore. So to be a feeding person, you don't even need to know how to boil water. You just need to know food handling safety.
Andrew, you have a question. You want to come off mute?
So I was wondering, and I think I saw a few people in chat representing Alaska, but I know Alaska is a huge state, so you may not know. But in a little island community of Craig, Alaska, they still have volunteers who use some of the historic training and have a small dedicated feeding team because they know they'll be cut off.
We do a lot of different kinds of feeding here in the state. Salvation Army does most of the feeding, but when you get out to the rural communities, then we have to figure out how to get food out to those villages. It's not an easy job by any means. And hi, Andrew.
Hey, miss y'all.
Joanne, your hand is up. You want to come off mute? Oops, you almost came.
Okay.
There you go.
Come on, Dewey.
Here I go. Hi, Julia. Quick question. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, and I wanted to know if I could put in a plug of sorts. Speaking of Baptist on Mission, if any of the people here on the Zoom tonight are near enough to Gresham, Oregon, Baptist on Mission are doing, and Julie, I'm sure you know about this, they're doing a training for their people, but I talked to my CDPM Jamie and went around, found out that Red Crossers are welcome and they have, should I stop, Julia, or should I keep going?
No, that's fine. I can explain more if you want to. Want
Okay,
me to?
so I found out that the thing is very short notice. Today is Wednesday and the thing is Friday. So, but they're having two breakout sessions, one on Friday and one on Saturday. And I found out today, talking to a man direct, that it is the same presentation. It's not a continuation. So if one day is better for you than the other, you don't have to go, oh, darn it, I can't go to the rest of it. I am going to go because my schedule allows to go to Saturday it's called Mass Feeding, and it's at a church. And so I just think if there's people who can't really even comprehend what a Baptist on Mission kitchen looks like and acts like and feels like, this might be good before boots on the ground in North Carolina.
So, would Julia or Joanne, do you want to put the information for your Oregon people in the chat so that they have it?
Yes, I wish I could do that.
I'll try and do that. What I wanted to say is all Baptist teams do that. And I encourage, go to your CDPM or your feeding lead. If you are the feeding lead, research who your Baptist regional director is, your white hat person, and say, we have some Red Crossers that like to take your training. They're usually in April. Sometimes they'll have one in September if it's not real busy, but it's usually April or May. And I encourage everybody to take that training. And if you can, ask them if you'd like them to bring Irv along, and so they can see the Irv and how it functions, because that way you get to actually get up at dark 30 and cook the meals with them and work alongside them. And they work hard. These people wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
and cooking. They have lunch done by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and most of them are paying their own way. They sleep in sleeping bags on the floor in the church that they're usually working outside of. So I always encourage, if you're in feeding leadership, make sure that if that's the case, that we offer them Red Cross blankets and Red Cross cots to be able to make their job a little bit easier. They work long, hard days, and those kitchens get hot working inside them.
Okay,
Go
ahead.
sorry. I'd just like to add on to what Julia just said. They work so hard and they are absolutely amazing. I got to experience it not last fall before. But just as an FYI, as you're talking to your CDPM or thinking about going to this one, if you're close enough to Gresham, and this is very short notice, right or wrong, good or bad, Red Cross won't cover any of our expenses because I'm sure there's 6 reasons why, but just be prepared for that little tidbit. Fuel will be on you, and if you stay the night, that will be on you.
So what it
Okay.
is they have to build that into the budget every year. So
Yeah.
they had built it into the budget to pay. It's $35 for the weekend. So they can pay for your registration, but they didn't build in lodging and transportation. Next
Yeah.
year, they're going to build that in. So it has to be part of the budget or there's no money available for that. So that's the best thing to do, is work with your CDPM to make sure that that's part of the budget for the next year. So you can take teams and develop your teams in doing that.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I
there
didn't
are,
mean it as
Thank
there
you
are
both.
Baptist kitchens all up and down the Pacific coast. So trust me, they're
Okay.
there and
Yeah.
available.
Thank you
Mary,
both. Go ahead.
Mary, are there any other questions?
No, there aren't.
Okay.
We have 4 minutes, and I was going to offer anyone else who had a quick question. And I'm seeing none. Okay, so that concludes our series for this year. I hope all of you have learned something and are interested in deploying this year in feeding. We would love to see you out there. And of course, you always can phone Kay or Julia or myself or Iwe if you have any questions once you get out there on the job. Feel free to use your call a friend and put us in your phone.
Mary, can I just mention that
Of course.
following the feeding series will be the sheltering series. So it will be on Monday night and it will start next week. You should be hearing things about that also.
Thank you. And everyone have a